Hello, everyone. Here to show you my Gravekeeper deck profile. First off, I just want to start with some of the monsters. First off, 3 Descendants. These are really important for clearing the field on their side, and to go along with them. Of course, I gotta have 3 Spies. Spies, of course, summon other Gravekeepers. Usually, I go through the Recruiter and pop tribute the Descendant, pop on their side of the field. So then, yeah, with the Spy, I flip summon it. And I have 2 monsters, the spy and the monster I use to summon it. And yeah, keep popping, and really, destroy their whole field. Alright, next up, 2 Chiefs. Chief is great, he's got less than 1500 defense, so I can always bring him to my hand with Recruiter. And I go special summon the monster from my graveyard, and on top of that, it frees my graveyard, so I can go ahead and use Monster Reborn while he's on the field. It's always good. Okay, I already mentioned it, but here, got 3 Recruiters. Recruiter is great. Goes to the graveyard for any reason. From the field to the graveyard for any reason. Go ahead and bring a Gravekeeper with 1500 defense or less to my hand. Like I said, I could bring Chief. I could bring a Descendant if I need one. I can bring this next card, and that is Command. So yeah, Recruiter is definitely a must-have in your deck. I only run 2 Commandants because I don't really want to get Necro Valley in my hand too often. Because then, I might lose my Necro Valleys early on in the game. So I only have 2 of these guys to, go ahead and bring them to my hand twice. And plus I already have, good amount of Necro Valleys in the deck already. So yeah. Alright, now, Gravekeeper's Guard. Great, he's got 1900 defense, plus with Necro Valley. He's got 2400 defense. Plus when he's flipped, I can send a monster on their side of the field back into their hand. So, for example, they attack. I can go ahead and send like a Synchro monster, an Xyz monster. I can pretty much send anything, Alright. Now is my Assailants. I only run 2 of these. 3 of them was just a little bit too much for me. Some people run 3, but 2 is good enough for me. He's great. Bring him to my hand with Recruiter. If say I'm on a really tight spot, they have something with a lot of attack, but less than 2000 defense. And I'll have as a Recruiter. I set a Recruiter, bring this guy out. His effect, I could change their monster to defense mode, and I can clear the field easily with this guy. Alright, so he's good, and he's really misunderstood. Alright, 1 Visionary. I'm not really tributing too often in this deck, but whenever I get this guy, and there is an instance in which I can tribute summon, I'll bring him out, especially if it's late in the game. It's actually just helped me out yesterday. If it's late in the game, I have a lot of Gravekeepers in my graveyard, and I have either Monster Reborn in my hand, I lost my last Necro Valley, Monster Reborn in my hand, or set Rite of Spirit. Activate one of those, bring out a Gravekeeper, tribute it for Visionary. Okay, he gets a huge boost from their attack. Even when Necro Valley's not there, there's a lot of Gravekeepers in my graveyard. Huge boost in attack. And it's a really stupid move I forgot to use yesterday. When he's supposed to be destroyed, I can instead discard another Gravekeeper. My opponent activated Dark Hole. A perfect time to activate his effect. But I totally forgot it, and by the time I wanted to I realized I could have activated it. It was too late. He reacted Monster Reborn afterwards. But still, he's a great card. Gotta remember to use him more often. And yeah, even better, I only need 1 tribute for him because of his effect. I know he's 8 stars, but yeah, it's great. Alright, now is my Malefic Stardust Dragon. He's good for, I believe, 2, maybe 3 reasons. First off, it protects my Necro Valley. Okay, in the effect it says cannot destroy, field spells, all his cards are on the field. Of course he'll only be on the field if there's a field spell. So say for example, he's on the field. Okay. I have him on the field, I have a Necro Valley of course, no other spell or traps, and my opponent has stuff on their side of the field. I can activate Heavy Storm, and my Necro Valley will not be destroyed. It's only, their spell or traps will be, taken away. Another reason why I love him, it's a really easy special summon. All I need to do is banish Stardust Dragon from my extra deck, of course. Which is, I'm not going to summon Stardust Dragon too often. So I bring this guy out, and he's pretty much free tribute. So if I want to bring a chief, special summon, Gravekeeper from my graveyard, I can either get Descendant, for a free pop, or I already have Descendant on the field, and I can go ahead and bring a Recruiter maybe and get a free pop that way. You know, he's the only one that can attack on the field, so if I want to get someone else, so I don't mind getting rid of him so I can have all my other guys attack. So great card for pretty much any field deck. Alright, now for my spells. Alright, first off, there's the 4 staples, okay, for any deck. These 4 cards, I do believe, work in any deck. Well, at least Monster Reborn, Heavy, and Dark Hole work in literally every deck. There's no deck that should not have those 3 cards. I know some people were thinking, Monster Reborn, okay, you have Necro Valley in the field, when are you supposed to use it? Well, here's some times. First off, they destroyed my Necro Valley, of course, and then if I have Chief on the field, of course, Chief lets me use my graveyard, and yeah. Now, Book of Moon, I think works in most decks. There are some instances where it might not work, but it works especially good in Gravekeepers, because keep in mind, I still have my Guard, I still have my Spy. Those are flip effect monsters. Not only can I flip one of their monsters face down to maybe protect me, make one of their monsters not have an effect, such as Rescue Rabbit or Tour Guide, but if I were to flip a Spy or my Guard face down, I can use their effect again, which is especially great for Spy. Now, next card is a staple in every single Gravekeeper deck, Necro Valley. No matter what kind of Gravekeeper deck you're running, whether it's this or the Gravekeeper Burn, you need 3 Necro Valleys. Alright, the Necro Valley is a great card. It works in actually some other decks I've seen use it, such as Machinas, or as some people say, Machina, whatever. It's great. If you use a deck that revolves around a card or cards that special summon from the graveyard by their own effect, then this is probably a good card for you. Plus the Gravekeepers get 500 attack bonus, which is actually helps a lot. Alright, and I always gotta have Necro Valley in my hand. I have 2 Commandants, that's good, because I might draw 1 Necro Valley, and I only need use for Commandant. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to send, I meant Commandant. Alright, so great card, not only this deck and some other variants. Alright, now there's Steel. I use Steel to, of course, get monsters from my graveyard into my hand. Best part, it's not affected by Necro Valley, which is perfect, and I like to combine this card with the next card, Royal Tribute. Okay, so here's the situation for you. I have Necro Valley on the field, I have 2 Gravekeepers in my hands, and I have a Royal Tribute, and a Gravekeeper Steel. I activate Royal Tribute, so I send those 2 Gravekeepers from my hand to the graveyard, no big deal. Then I can activate Steel to bring those 2 I sent from my graveyard back into my hand. If I'm lucky, my opponent probably had a lot of monsters in their hands, and so, they lose their monsters, but I'm pretty much keeping mine, Sure, I might have taken 1 Steel, but I got 2 others in my deck, it's great. Or even if another good reason for Royal Tribute, on the first turn, I think it works amazing, because later on in the game, they're going to have less cards in their hands, yada yada, so on and so forth. And the beginning turn, if they drew an amazing first draw, they drew their ace monster, activate Royal Tribute, it pretty much wins the game, which is the only reason why this card's semi-limited, and probably one of the only Gravekeeper's card that is semi-limited. Next up, Wonder Wand. Now, I used to have this and 2 Bound Wands, but I realized I didn't really use Bound Wand too often because I had Necro Valley on the field. Wonder Wand is great. I can equip to a monster, gives it 500 attack, and then I can tribute the monster to draw 2 cards. Now, if I just summoned a monster, I probably won't use Wonder Wand. I'll probably wait till the next turn and tribute it, draw 2 cards, because now I'll probably have a monster I could summon with those cards. And yeah, it's just a great card. 500 attack. I can draw 2 cards. It's a great card to consider. All right, now move on to our traps. All right. First off, I run 2 Rite of Spirits. I find a lot of times I need to get cards out of the graveyard, and this card is the only card for me. It lets me bring any Gravekeeper out of the graveyard and special summon it. And even better, it even works when Necro Valley is on the field. So it's pretty much a reborn for Gravekeepers, and it's just all around a great card to have in your deck. Okay, now to protect from attacks, I have Mirror Force. Of course, they attack destroys all their monsters. Probably one of the few traps that are, somewhat of a staple. I hear some people say, oh yeah, well the meta is all about popping one card one by one, one by one. This will probably be destroyed by any means. But still, I did use this card yesterday, and it worked very, very well. Alright, gate attack. It could buy me another turn. It kind of slows down the duel. One attack, and the whole battle phase is over. Perfect. Two compulsory evacuation devices. You probably can't tell it now, but it's with both dual terminals. Anyway, send a monster from the field to the hand. This could work in two ways. First off, of course, send like a really big synchro tank that they just had brought out. Send it back to the extra deck. Of course, send a monster back in their hand. Or if I need a Necro Valley and I have a commandant on the field, bring commandant to my hand, discard it, and bring Necro Valley to my hand. It's great. Finally, 7 Tools of the Bandit. These are the last 2 cards in my whole deck. I didn't really use this one too often the other day, or yesterday, but when I do have it up face down, it's great. They activate Royal Decree, activate this, so maybe I can activate Red Spirit later on. But yeah, it's great. Alright, now for my extra deck. First off, Stardust Dragon. It is impossible for me to synchro summon him, because lack of a tuner, of course. But I need him, of course, for my Malefic Stardust Dragon. I don't have him. I can't bring in my Malefic Stardust Dragon, which is probably one of the better cards in my deck. And my other card, my extra deck, is a very small extra deck, I know. Photon Papal Operative. This card is one of my most favorites in this current meta right now. It's a rank 4 Xyz. You can use any 2 level 4 monsters. If my opponent keeps setting monsters face down in defense mode, this card is perfect because it brings them to attack mode, and it loses 600 attack. Yeah, and then I can pretty much attack. It can backfire on me if it's a Ryko, but if I were to attack anyway, if I have 2 guards, it's 1,000 to 1,000. If I don't have Necro Valley, it might backfire on me if I attack with one of them, so I'll trick myself into Xyz in both of them. Sure, they're going to destroy Photon Papal Operative, but so with Ryko, Mill 3, of course. Alright. Now, as for a side deck, I really don't have a side deck. I know I probably should stack up. I can't have any Shadow Risen Mirrors, because that, bites me more. But yeah, my side deck, I have an Assailant and a Commandant, because I never know if say, for example, hey, I never got Necro Valley during that whole duel. Maybe I'll throw a Commandant in there. Or heck, this guy has a lot of defense guys, Gravekeeper's Assailant, because I remember this one guy I dueled yesterday. He ran a Gusto deck, and Gusto's supposed to summon defense mode. The Assailant, I could really punish him for that. Or if they activate Honest or just one Blackwing, I forgot what it was called, but pretty much Honest for Blackwings. Brings them into attack mode, and I can attack pretty much right there. Of course, it doesn't work on set monsters, but only face ups. Still great punishment for using defense monsters. Alright. And then I have 2 bound ones. I took this out. The side deck pretty much for me is cards I wasn't really sure about using my main deck, but whatever. Book of Tayu. It flips someone's a monster. It doesn't really flip someone. I think it just flips, but whatever. And then finally, Cyber Summon Blaster. Everything is machine monsters pop summon. I have like 300 damage. It's not really that great of a card, but I really don't have a side deck. And I never really need a side, because I remember playing yesterday against the Chaos Dragons. As long as I had Necro Valley. Necro Valley is really something anyone would probably side into for Chaos Dragons. Actually, I think it was Twilight, to be more specific, because he had Light Sworns, which was even more perfect, because he kept milling cards, and he's going to bring them back. Of course, even without Necro Valley. Actually, with Necro Valley, he couldn't bring them out, because, pretty much goes to the graveyard, stays in the graveyard. If he brings BOS to his hand, he cannot, special summon it by banishing it from the graveyard, because it says specifically he cannot, be banished from the graveyard, so on and so forth. Alright? So that's my deck. If you have any tips, or you have any, anything else you want to say, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. I'm always open to some suggestions. And yeah, have a great day, and enjoy.